Are you ready? I hope you're ready. Are you ready for the absolute best broadcast on what's tonight? Monday nights. Echo Base TV, where community happens. Thank you guys for being here. This is going to be awesome. It was a pleasure putting these together. Hope that you guys enjoy. I will be in chat. Everybody will be here in chat. We've got 2 hours and 1 minute of runtime. And I don't want to mention everybody who sent in videos because I'll leave somebody out. But we have a slew of great ones. We're working on getting that up in the future, letting you guys kind of know. I'm kind of on the fence about whether or not to let you guys know who is being here. I like it being a surprise, kind of, because we're going to have surprises every few weeks, and I don't want them to be spoiled, but it's something to think about. So anyways, guys, here we go. And oh, look who is here at Echo Base TV for the very first time. Mexican Iron Man. He's never, ever been here before. So thank you, Mexican Iron Man, for being here. We hope that you enjoy tonight's broadcast. Here we go.
Welcome.
Good to see you, Commander.
And you as well, Skywalker. Please, be seated. Please welcome Admiral Akbar and Crix Maydeen.
Thank you, Mon Mothma, for the introduction.
How goes the war effort?
We have made great strides since we took down the second Death Star. However, the Empire will not fall so easily.
Huh. Scum never backs down so easily.
The Empire lost a considerable amount of war power after Endor, including a leader. Still, a considerably large amount of forces remain. Now, we have reports that the Empire has been spreading propaganda that Mas Miranda has become the new Emperor. But, according to our sources, this is a little more than a front. The Imperial Navy is now controlled in the Emperor's absence.
Disappointing that the war must continue like this.
Indeed. And it appears that even with the Emperor dead, the Empire continues to threaten would-be allies who would align with our cause.
Well, does that hinder our objective? To create a new declaration?
It does. With such a lack of support, and as the Alliance of Free Planets, we must bring together enough allies to draft a new republic. I see. Thank you. We've just received a message intended for the Empire. It appears to be a message from Bakura.
Bakura? Aren't they loyal to the Empire?
Actura is under attack by the Illusion force from outside your domain. Numerous parties. Lost. That our defense force has been destroyed along with all other system outposts. Holding at transmissions to Imperial Center and deficits are to gone unanswered. Urgent, repeat urgent. We had heard rumors of a force being repelled by the Empire several times. But now...
The planet is vulnerable.
It is safe to assume that the Empire has focused all its resources into maintaining itself these past few weeks. But it's also likely that the Empire simply ignored this message.
Why would the Empire ignore its own allies?
So, what's on this Baccarat? I've only heard stories.
According to this file, its economy is based on the export of repulsor lift components and an exotic fruit candy and liquor. It was settled by a supposed mining corporation during the final years of the Clone Wars and was taken over by the Empire approximately 3 years ago to absorb and control its repulsor lift production capacity.
Subjugated recently enough to remember independence well. How far away is this settlement?
Relative position from Endor at the edge of the Outer Rim worlds.
That far? That will still take days to get there in light speed.
How large is the Imperial force?
Bakura is currently defended by an Imperial garrison. The sender of this message has added subtext reminding Emperor Palpatine that what forces they have are antiquated due to the system's remoteness.
And since it's likely that the Imperials will not receive this message, they could still come later and take it. But by then this Bakura could fall to the invasion force, or it could become part of the Alliance. If the Imperials can't help the Bakurans, then we must.
Help the enemy.
Don't you see? Bakura could be the first step in getting those previously loyal to the Empire to join our pact. We need a considerable amount of planets on our side.
But the Imperials will never agree.
That is not true. If we help repel the invaders and send aid,
Then the Bakurans may leave the Empire out of gratitude. We could help free their people.
I am sorry, Leia, but we cannot prioritize these after losing a good number of our forces from Endor.
You step off onto an Imperial world, and you're an entry in somebody's credit register. You've got a price on your head. Speaking from experience here.
Every planet deserves a chance to join the Alliance, and soon a Republic, even if the Empire smears its flag upon it.
I doubt we can afford not to go. An invasion force that big is trouble for this whole end of the galaxy. And she's right. It's us that ought to go. You just better send us a ship that can make a fast getaway, in case the Imperials catch on and get any ideas.
What about the price on your head, Nerf Herder?
You're not going without me, Your Highness. Besides, I promised I'd stay.
very well. Perhaps we can find a binding between the Alliance and Empire. While the Civil War goes on, we could find resolution through means other than war. Perhaps what you say is true, Your Majesty. We will offer our support to this planet, but this is your call, and I shall leave it to you. Meeting adjourned.
I know, a truce. Who would have thought?
Lando here. The Imperials have locked down my city. I've managed to gain intelligence on some of the officials working here. I'm sending them to you now. How are you, Uthar?
This place, they literally killed the mood here.
Dead, isn't it? I think people are better off hiding in the dark than the city.
Feels like a ghost town here. I'm moving in now.
Time to listen in.
Hux is a loyal officer of the
I hear
Empire,
voices.
but I do not understand his cautiousness over Skywalker and the Rebellion. As you understand, we've begun to transition to the contingency. However, the Imperial Court has yet to vote on it.
Do you think the vote will pass?
Palpatine's orders are clear.
Yet, he is dead. Why should we enact a dead man's words?
You would defy the Emperor's order.
No, but I do believe that it depends on if the court agrees to its authorization.
I see.
The one known as Cypher had mentioned that we should enact the contingency only when the rebels do not expect it. We need to know what their plans are and who will align with them. We will see many systems defect the coming days, Sloane.
I agree with Hux's assessment. You should wait and see what Skywalker is up to, and what his plans are.
I'm surprised you hide in the shadows, Inquisitor. Where were you when your master needed you?
I was away on another assignment. Besides, he had tasked another to kill Skywalker. Only it was too late.
The Emperor's hand, where are they?
Disgraced, most likely. Even then, we should focus on the present rather than the past.
Emperor's hand.
Interesting. I sense that you aren't the only ones listening.
Lando?
Blaze.
Welcome to Echo Base TV, guys, where community happens.
Hello everyone, Ted the Old Star Wars Nerd here on EBN TV, where community happens, and this week I'm glad you've come back. We have two more toys to look at. One Star Wars toy and one non-Star Wars toy. Okay, so I pulled this one off the shelf and it was full of things that can be considered a different toy, so I figured I might as well make that the second one, and you will see. Anyway, let's get to it, okay? I have a camera set up here so I can show it to you as I'm talking. This is my 3rd grade lunchbox. I forget when these were manufactured, but I had this one. It had to have come out, I guess, between, let's see, 1st grade I started in 76, 77 I would have started 2nd grade, so 3rd grade I started in 78. So they would have come out before September of 78. So here we have Star Wars lunchbox. Now this thing is beat to hell. I am missing the handle on top. And I'm missing the thermos from the inside, of course. And I remember it was a yellow thermos with a blue top, I believe. I think the top is the first thing I cracked and lost. But there's a yellow thermos, and it had a picture of, I think it had a picture of that on it, if I remember right. I think I remember if it was R2-D2 and 3PO. But I don't know. I could be misremembering. But anyway, 3rd grade lunchbox, I would sit and just stare at this thing endlessly. And, oh, here's my favorite picture. This is my favorite one. Look at that. You see that? That show up good? No? That was just an awesome picture. Sitting there and look at that. Yeah, you can see rust spots on there. Doesn't look too good, but yeah. This thing's really old. Luke and Leia and Vader. Look, a family portrait. Of course, and then you got the top, which is the Battle of the Death Star. I guess you look at it like that. And then, of course, the bottom. Stormtrooper on a dewback. Stormtrooper on a dewback. And let's see, what does that say? 1977, 20th Century Fox Corporation. Thermos Division, King Sealy Thermos Company. Woo! But anyway, so there's my 3rd grade lunchbox. Now, 1st grade, I had a rare Snoopy lunchbox. I found out later it was rare because my brother stole it from me, and it is now gone. But I had a Charlie Brown Snoopy lunchbox. 2nd grade, I had another Peanuts lunchbox. 3rd grade, Star Wars. 4th grade was Muppets. 5th grade was Empire Strikes Back, and I wish I had that one too, but that's another story about, yeah. Anyway, so here's this, and then inside of it, when I picked this thing back up, I'd forgotten I'd stuffed it full of this old stuff my wife had found for me. It's a bunch of Hot Wheels cars. And I love Hot Wheels cars, and these aren't any of mine from my childhood. Those are long gone. I gave those away, and buried them and blew them up with firecrackers and all sorts of stuff long ago. But these, what I do is I tell my wife to go out and just when she sees Hot Wheel cars, to buy them for me as much as she can, because I like to take them and refurbish them, clean them up, repaint them, give them to people for special things. And I'll show you pictures of some I made for Coach and Nick at Mexican Iron Man here in a second. But I needed a place to put these. This is like the first haul I think my wife ever brought home, and I needed some place to put them, so I put them in there, of course. But these are just old Hot Wheels and Matchbox cars. Yeah, here's a Hot Wheels. I mean, nothing spectacular, nothing. I don't think any of these are rare or anything, but they're just cool. I love Hot Wheels cars, and you can paint them up and you can make them be whatever you want to. Like this one here. I forgot I had this one. I'll show you this other thing I did. This would have been a great Mexican Iron Man taco truck. It's even got a guy inside that will sell you tacos. But anyway, I'll show you. I made a different taco truck. I forgot I had this one, and I couldn't find it at the time. Oh, this. Some of you might see this. This is a Stomper 4x4. Now you take these and let's see, you put them in the middle, put it gear shifter in the middle, and the wheels would roll, and you could, just roll it along like a normal car. You put a AA battery in it, and you could go low or high, and it engages all four wheels, and the four wheels are made of rubber, and it would go over almost anything. Like it would probably go over all these cars if it worked. I put a battery in it before and it don't work. I read about that Stompers have a thing that inside the motor, if you put a battery in them and if they've been sitting too long, the motor blows up or what. It doesn't blow up, but it like chews up some of the stuff to the side of the motor, burns out because it's old and been sitting too long. I forget what exactly it was. But anyway, Stomper 4x4. These were awesome. There were so many 4x4s. This was back in the day when Bigfoot, the 4x4, was so popular. And if you don't know about Bigfoot, the 4x4, he's the one that really started the craze with the monster trucks. Go look it up. Check it out. But like I say, yeah, nothing too spectacular. Yeah, here's a Volkswagen I could probably paint up to look like Herbie. Another kind of VW, Herbie-ish, Oh, here's a good one. Here's a truck. And I have tons of them. I've got like 7 or 8 more boxes outside that I've accumulated that my wife has found for me over the years. So anyway, let's stop here, and I want to show you the ones that I made for Coach and Nick and Mexican Iron Man and sent to him. So let me turn this off and step back out of the way. Okay, now here's the ones I made for Coach and Nick. On the left here, we have this blue one with the red in front. That is one I thought Nick might really like. It is a single-seater little sports car, and I thought it was pretty cool. And on the right, I have the Coach and Nick mobile. It's a double-seater car. On the driver's side is a picture of Coach. On the passenger side is a picture of Nick. On the back is a picture of Echo. And so I made that for them. And in the back is Echo 1 helicopter I made. And I painted it up. It was originally a Spider-Man helicopter. You can see some of the little web featuring around the cockpit. But yeah, I just took it, painted all these up, the Echo base colors, put some stickers on them, and thought they looked pretty cool. And now we have the Mexican Iron Man lowrider, which looks really high compared to the van, and the Mexican Iron Man taco van. So I made these. I took this lowrider and just painted it up, put some stickers on it, and customized it to make it look more like Mexican Iron Man. And the van, I got some stickers, found a taco and another sticker and put on here and put MIM on the front. And I just thought that looked really cool. And I sent that off to him, so he should have that, I think, by now. But anyway, those are really cool. So I made them for Coach and Nick and Mexican Iron Man, and I've made a few more for other friends and families over the years. I don't have pictures of them, or I'd show them off. Should have taken pictures of them. But anyway, I hope you enjoy that. So that is 2 toys for this week, all right? 2 toys here on EBN TV. I hope you enjoyed that. So, again, come back next week and we'll look at some more, all right? So thanks for checking out me. I am Ted, the old Star Wars nerd here on EBN TV. Subscribe to the channel. Come back again. We'll see you soon. Thanks.
Good evening, everyone. This is Grand Admiral Thrawn coming to you once again directly from the Chimera with another urgent message. We hope you enjoy tonight's stream on Echo Base TV, and I would encourage you, make sure you subscribe to every channel you see featured here tonight. So if you see content during tonight's broadcast that you find to be entertaining, be sure to subscribe to its creator. Now enjoy the show, and welcome to Echo Base TV, where community happens.
Welcome to EBN TV. This is Darth Arlena, second half of the Vac Tube. The following is an excerpt from our interview with Star Wars Santa. If you would like to view the video in its entirety, head on over to the Vac Tube. And as always, make sure that you like, subscribe, and share. If you fail to do so, the Empire will find you, and I will force choke you into compliance. Long live the Empire. Enjoy.
If you don't mind, sir, give us your background, your Star Wars story. What got you into Star Wars?
Oh, sure. So, Star Wars is the first movie I ever remember seeing in a theater. I was born in 1967. I was 10 years old when the first movie released, and right there in the target audience, right? George Lucas always said it was made for 10-year-olds. I was 10, 1977, and it was a huge event. Everybody knows, like, long lines and all of that. I was 10, so it wasn't, we didn't have social media. I wasn't exactly watching the 6 o'clock news. I was out playing. But my birthday that summer, I remember going to see Star Wars in the theater. And, at that time, it wasn't A New Hope. It was just Star Wars. And it had a big impact on me. It was such a great movie. And I'll never forget that opening sequence with the Tantive 4 coming over and then the Star Destroyer. And it just kept coming and kept coming. And it just kind of blew your mind because at the time, like the Tantive 4 looked like a big spaceship. And then that Star Destroyer comes and it dwarfs it. Like, oh my goodness. And it hooked me right there at the beginning. So I was the right age at the right time for one of the biggest movie events of all time. At that time, it was such a big leap, right? Like science fiction movies, space movies.
Oh, yeah.
Star Trek was sort of the standard. And, when you see the Enterprise, dangling on strings outside of a planet, that's sort of what you expected. And when you went in to see Star Wars, it was an entirely different event.
Absolutely, it was. I mean, just George Lucas had such a vision, and it was amazing the technology he created to bring forth as much as he did.
It really is.
I mean, I couldn't imagine if he had the technology of today back then.
Well, and what I think today is the volume, right? That stagecraft that they're using is right in line with George Lucas and what he was doing in his garage, literally in his garage, right? What Jon Favreau has done there in evolving that technology at Lucasfilm has been incredible, and I think that's directly in line with what George Lucas was trying to do, where he was headed, what he would have done. But the vision that Favreau brought in developing that then is just tremendous. And that's what I exactly think George Lucas would have been doing, is what John and Dave are doing. They're right in line. But for me, it's the inverse of the prequels, right? So I'm able to enjoy them at a much greater level. And they came out when my youngest daughter was the right age. And so I was able to go to the movies with her. She loves them. She loves them. And
that's awesome.
I got to experience them with her, right? And she's funny because she said, "Dad, I don't understand why you don't like the prequels. They're my favorite." I'm like, "Shut up. Go away." She doesn't like the original trilogy. The original trilogy is her least favorite. And I think it's because she's the age where like when our minds were blown, she's like, it's old tech, right? Like it's not all that. And so visually for her, it's not as stunning, and it didn't do for her what it did for us.
Right.
But she loves the sequels. She loves the prequels. And I got to experience those with her in the theater. And those are memories that a dad and daughter will carry on forever. My favorite from the movies is Rey. I absolutely love her.
No. No,
yeah.
Santa, no.
I'm sorry. It's just, I don't know, for whatever reason. And there's a story behind it. I talked about it a little with Star Wars Theory. Is I went through some difficulties in my childhood that were very tough, and that impacted me bigger than I knew. Like, it's weird. When I think about it, I'm 54 years old. When I was 8 years old, I went through a very traumatic event, and it affected me for the rest of my life. And that's weird. Like, an 8-year-old kid can have their entire life affected by one event, right? I was taken out in the woods by other kids, and they beat me, and they left me laying out in the middle of the woods, bloodied and alone, right? I had to find my way home.
It's terrible.
And that affected me being able to make friends afterwards, being able to trust people, and reliving that at various times, where it affected relationships, right? It affects how I am at work, right? I'm just, it's weird that an 8-year-old kid can be impacted that way, right? So at 10 years old, when I got to see Star Wars, it hit me huge. When I was in my 40s, I went through a little bit of a midlife crisis, and it was tough. And The Force Awakens hit me at a time when I was coming through that, and I connected with Rey in a very deep emotional way that helped heal some of that. And so for me, Rey is she's my hero for many of those reasons, right? Like, she helped me deal with a thing that happened to me when I was 8 that affected my entire life. And I don't know.
So awesome.
Star Wars has just had that kind of impact on me throughout my life at major points. And I love Rey. I absolutely love her.
That is so awesome.
It makes it hard when she's getting attacked, right? I really want to defend her, but I have come to realize that that's a personal thing for me. That's an emotional thing for me.
Yeah.
And that other people have had that with, and I saw Theory react this way with Luke, right?
Yes.
It hit him at a time when he saw Luke. It brought him to tears. It did a lot for him. And for me, Rey did that for me. And so, look, it's a personal thing. And for people who don't connect with her and have major issues with the sequels, it's taken some time for me to understand. But I get it. I really do. Yeah. I mean, it's been tough. Like, when I first, like I said, I went through a midlife crisis in my 40s. And I went on break one time at work, and just out of nowhere, just bawled my eyes out. Right? I was like, what is going on? Right? Like, I didn't, like, emotionally, you can't, I don't know. It was weird. It was really, really odd just to be crying your eyes out as a grown man for, like, no reason.
Yeah.
Right? And I realized it's had to do with those kids when I was 8 years old.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And it's amazing how Star Wars can give that to so many people. And it's very few things, very few products, so to speak, can do that. Star Wars is one of the few. that you can connect to and grasp onto something, and it can help you get through whatever you're going through in your life. And I'm very happy to hear that, Santa. I'm glad that, though many people may not like her, that you found that connection and it helped you work through everything. That's just amazing.
Yes.
It's a cool story because it's happened to so many people in different aspects, be it Luke or be it Anakin or be it Rey. Whatever that character was for you at that moment when you went through a really difficult time, and you realize that there's a lot of us really screwed up out there. And
there is.
And I didn't have friends in high school. I mentioned like this thing that happened when I was 8. I had no friends. I remember we moved to Ohio, and I was still in elementary school, and my mom came to pick me up at school, and all the kids are out playing, and I'm sitting alone, over in the nobody wanted to. I had no friends, right? And that's partially, I realized that partially because I didn't want to trust. Right? I didn't want to make the connection to these kids that took me out in the woods and beat me. Right. So if I don't trust, I don't get involved, then that won't happen. Right.
Dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural.
Fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering.
May the Force be with you.
Subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and share the videos. Don't forget, To activate the notification alert bell, that way you don't miss any new videos. May the Force be with you, always.
For my ally is the Force, and a powerful ally it is. Life creates it, makes it grow. Its energy surrounds us and binds us.
Welcome to Echo Base TV, where community happens.
Welcome to Echo Base TV, and this is Figure of the Week. This week I would like to review the recent Hasbro Star Wars Black Series release of Vice Admiral Rampart. Part of the Bad Batch collection, Hasbro released this figure in the new style of Black Series boxes, depicting a different colour banner to represent which movie or TV series the figure is from. We can see from this maroon colour, this is used to represent the Bad Batch collection. This style of packaging has proved highly popular with collectors, as it depicts artwork on the side and becomes a mural of the different characters in the wave as you collect them. On this box we can see a wonderful image showing the character in a very thoughtful pose. Looking at the back of the pack, we get the same image as we did on the side, with a quick bio of the character, along with the usual legal jargon we've come to expect from modern action figures these days. Now, I had no intention to collect this wave of figures, but when I seen Rampart in his Imperial uniform, I thought he would make a great addition to my growing Imperial officers collection, and the mouse droid was very hard to turn my nose up at. The rest of this wave has some brilliant figures from the heroes of the Bad Batch, but they don't really fit into my original trilogy collection. But seeing clone fans go mad for these figures has been very enjoyable to watch from afar as they add to their growing collections. In the Bad Batch, Vice Admiral Rampart appears to play a big role in the new Galactic Empire as it takes hold of the galaxy. He was charged with rolling out the Empire's chain code laws and was seen in the season finale laying an attack on Kamino and the sacking of the Kamino city with our heroes inside. So let's pop him out of the box for a closer look.
Move into position. Open fire.
Straight away we can see that this figure is a lot of reuse of parts from other figures. Although the head sculpt is brand new and a beautiful representation of the character, everything else is reuse of other previously released Imperial officers in the Black Series range. So much so, in fact, that Hasbro didn't even change the insignia on Rampart's uniform to match that of the character in the TV show, and chose instead to lazily repaint colours from other previously released characters. I can see that the paint is a little bit different, a little bit darker than the other figures, and the belt buckle and code cylinders are a little bit shinier than they are in the other figures. Hasbro even added a touch of blue to the top of the code cylinders to match that of the character on the TV show. So although the uniform is a little bit darker of a green colour, it's not enough that this guy won't fit right in alongside my other Imperial figures. His blaster is the same as we get with Admiral Priet and General Veers in the range, so there's more reuse again. However, I can put this down to this being a standard issue sidearm for senior officers, although it's very disappointing that there's no holster added for it. The mouse droid is just a plastic mould with movable wheels at the end, but they did add some nice touches of a dry brush of some silver and brown colours to give it an aged look. Overall, I'm quite happy that this character and the mouse droid will be a nice addition to my collection, and I look forward to adding them in to my other officers.
Beep beep.
So comparing Rampart to other figures in the line, here he is beside Grand Moff Tarkin. Again, you can see looking closely that it is just a complete reuse of the body. Although Tarkin is slightly taller, I think this is due to a different type of neck joint being moved, where Tarkin has far more mobility than the Rampart figure. So comparing Rampart to Director Krennic, we can see that the molds are nearly identical, besides subtle differences such as the belt buckle being turned around and the code cylinders used. Krennic came with a holster for his sidearm. I would have just liked to have seen the same used for Vice Admiral Rampart in this release. So here's Rampart beside a Fleet Rebel soldier, again both figures similar height, and this release having a holster for his sidearm. And here he is beside the Mandalorian, just because the Mando. So I didn't cover any articulation in this review, as there's nothing new in this figure that we haven't seen before with other releases in the line. Although I'm delighted to get Rampart, and he does fit right in beside my other Imperial officers for my Imperial army, I won't be collecting any other figures that appeared in the Bad Batch releases from the Black Series line. I hope you liked this review, thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to EBN TV.
You're traveling through another channel. A channel not only of sight and sound, but of content. A journey into a stream whose boundaries are that of imagination. You see a link up ahead. Your next click, EchoBase TV.
Hello, and welcome to Coffee on Korriban. Welcome back to the show, and I've got some very special guests with me today. I have got Master Paul and Mando on Fire of the Star Wars guys, and I'm really thrilled to have them here. They're super cool guys, and if you are not subscribed to their channel and you are subscribed to my channel, you can either unsubscribe from my channel or subscribe to their channel and stay subscribed to my channel. Because if you are a fan of Star Wars, then you should be subscribed to their channel. It's just, they've got some really awesome content, so definitely check them out. What we're going to be doing today is going over our favorite lines, our favorite quotes from Star Wars, one from each movie, plus a bonus from the shows.
All right, so I chose my lines not just because they were my favorites, but I chose lines that I thought were the most symbolic or the most applicable to real life. And so the line that I chose from episode 1 is, "Your focus determines your reality." And that's pretty self-explanatory right there, and it honestly reminds me of another saying that I heard a lot when I was in the Navy that says, perception is everything. So however you perceive whatever it is you're thinking about to be, that's pretty much going to be how it is until proven otherwise. And sort of the same thing with your focus determines your reality. Whatever it is that you're focused on about a certain situation, that's how it's going to be.
My favorite line from The Phantom Menace is when Shmi Skywalker says, "You cannot stop the change like you cannot stop the suns from setting." And I'm just going to say right now, we're not going to say these quotes perfectly because we're just kind of rolling with it. But it's a point that she's making to Anakin when he says, "I don't really want to leave you. Will I ever see you again?" And she says, "What does your heart tell you?" Yes. I hope so. I guess so. But she's consoling him and saying that, you know, stuff is going to change in your life. You're not going to have complete control over everything. And, you know, if you can roll with those punches, you're going to be better off than trying to change the outcome for everything, which is eventually what Anakin tries to do. He tries to control everything around him, from Padme to his control over the Force, over the light side and the dark side of the Force. And, you know, his mom was basically telling him, don't try to control everything because you can't stop that change.
Yeah, and admittedly, I actually had the same line as Master Paul here. Your focus determines your reality by Qui-Gon. For similar reasons, but also kind of a more personal note on my end, because admittedly, this is something that I struggle with daily, just because being somebody who didn't do so well in college, even though that I did pretty well in high school, I developed some bad habits such as senioritis. If you are currently a high school senior, or if you former high school senior, then you know exactly what I'm talking about, where some of these bad habits such as just laziness, procrastination kind of plagued me. And thinking about this quote just kind of responds to these bad habits that I've had, which is pretty much the reason why I chose this quote.
The line that I chose from episode 2 and 3 are kind of bookends of each other. The line that I chose from episode 2, it's a whole like partial monologue that Anakin is having, and it's, I killed them. I killed them all. And not just the men, but the women and the children too. They're like animals, and I slaughter them like animals. I hate them. And I chose that line just because that is the definitive moment to me. Not just when he's actually striking down the Tusken Raiders, but that is the definitive moment where you finally start to see Vader start to develop deep within Anakin.
Yeah, and just the fact that he was openly admitting that to Padme. And not just like, I killed some Tusken Raiders, but like telling her that he slaughtered them all. Like that's eventually what Darth Vader would be known for, is going and killing everyone.
And just as a funny aside, the fact that she still fell in love with him after that.
Not only did he admit this, but he admit that he was wrong and having these feelings where he says, I'm a Jedi, I'm better than this, even though Padme had says that feeling this way is human, feeling this way is normal, where Anakin responds with, I can't, that's no excuse for me because I'm a Jedi and I'm supposed to have a moral higher standard than most people.
My quote was actually basically in the same situation, same time period, where he's burying his mom and he's sitting there like, I'm sorry I couldn't save you. I promise, I won't let this ever happen again. I miss you so much. And that is what leads Anakin down that dark decline of basically promising his mom, I'm not going to let this happen. I'm not going to be weak anymore, because he viewed allowing his mom to die or not being there as his failure. He wasn't strong enough in the Force, and ultimately he would find that power in the dark side, which is why when Palpatine, and this will get into my next quote from Revenge of the Sith, tells him this is what the dark side offers, Anakin is ready to accept that because he wants that power for good reasons, but we all know that the dark side tempts you and it influences your mind, and eventually those darker reasons take root and take precedence over everything else.
Well, kind of going into a different direction for my episode 2 quote, hold off your laughs and just hear me out on this. I don't like sand. It's coarse, it's rough, it's irritating, and it gets everywhere. Now, memes aside, just hear me out on this. This actually started with a post that I saw on Instagram, I believe, where he made a commentary on how this quote has been just memed to death, but they actually took a deeper dive into what this quote meant, where they referred back to Padme's original thoughts on young life at Naboo, where she recounts also loving the water, being that she loves to swim, going to the sand, going out there to dry while counting birds, where this quote that I'm mentioning is actually supposed to be somewhat of an opposition to that, where Anakin's basically saying, I didn't have these things when I was growing up. I grew up as a slave. And when I think of sand, I just think about my rough childhood.
And in fact, I made a video called I Don't Like Sand Reimagined, and it's one of the shorts, it's under a minute, but I retold that quote, I don't like sand, it's course is everything else, but from a more novelistic standpoint. Like if I were writing a novel, how would I write what Anakin was feeling, but in more poetic terms?
Sand was not a luxury to be enjoyed. It was a burning reminder of the cruelty of everyday life. It was coarse, just like everything there. It represented a roughness found in everyone. No one cared. No one helped.
So if you haven't seen that, go check that video out.
Okay, so like I said, my quotes from episode 2 and episode 3 are bookends of each other. And I literally just now realized this as I'm reading my quotes here. My quote for episode 3 is, from my point of view, the Jedi are evil. And not only is that where you see Anakin fully complete, at least mentally, his transformation into Darth Vader, but in a way, it's kind of like seeing in action my episode 1 quote, your focus determines your reality. Because think about it, at this point in Revenge of the Sith, Anakin has, at least in his mind, been betrayed by everyone that he loves. Mace Windu tried to kill Palpatine in front of him, the only person that he could really confide his feelings in. He, in his own head, thought that Padme had brought Obi-Wan there to kill him, as he said. Padme wasn't willing to go along with his plan of joining the dark side to save her, and so he blames all of this on the Jedi for not allowing him to A, go save his mother, or B, pursue his feelings for Padme.
My episode 3 quote is basically a two-parter. You obviously have the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise, which is a classic. That would be an easy one to choose. But my line is actually, if one is to understand the great mystery, one must study all its aspects, not just the narrow, dogmatic view of the Jedi. And this is kind of Palpatine planting that seed in Anakin that, look, the Jedi don't have everything together. And then coupled with that, when he says the Jedi and the Sith are almost identical in every way, including their search for power, Anakin retorts by saying, the Jedi are selfless. The Sith think only about themselves. And Palpatine says, and the Jedi don't. So those lines together, Palpatine is coming out and blatantly saying, I am, the Lord of the Sith. I am, the dark side, and this is what you want. And instead of, I would certainly like to, instead of striking him down, he goes along with that because the seeds have been planted all along the way. That's what Palpatine means, literally, to palpate, to get your fingers on. Right. And he's just been pulling the strings and manipulating Anakin the entire time, and it kind of just all comes out in that line.
Yeah, and to kind of go along with that, my quote was actually, the dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural, where when we first were introduced to this quote, it was almost like Palpatine was baiting Anakin, as Coffee on Coruscant said, and also we see this quote again in Episode 9. Now, whether you love or hate this movie is completely irrelevant, but here's the point, where he's basically having a double meaning with this quote, where first it was about, oh, look at the dark side, we have all this good stuff, we can probably save your wife. And then when we go to Episode 9, on the other hand, it's almost like the cheat of death was fulfilled through Palpatine, since out of nowhere, Palpatine just somehow returned.
Alright, so my quote for Episode 4 is another pretty self-explanatory one, and it's, who's the more foolish, the fool or the fool who follows him? And this is another one that can easily be applied to real life, basically just saying, two people one person leads another into a bad situation. Who's the stupider person? The person who got them into the situation, or the other person that followed them into that bad situation?
That reminds me of the verse, the two blind men, the blind leading the blind, and they both fall in the ditch.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Also, kind of on a side note, I believe this was actually one of those little Clone Wars little fortune cookies that Dave Filoni had put into the Clone Wars. I forget which episode it was, but I know it's there, just as a heads up. Feel free to comment below which episode that was, by the way.
My line from Episode 4 is, the Force is what gives the Jedi his power. It surrounds us and penetrates us and binds the galaxy together. And it's just, that's the titular quote that sums up the Force. Whenever you want to describe the Force, that's the line that you go to. And it's kind of the core of what Star Wars is. The Force is in everything and through everything. And by extension, the will of the Force, is what the Jedi can tap into, much like Christians, allow the will of the Holy Spirit to guide their lives.
And something about midichlorians.
As well. and the wills, and they had a journal, and...
Yeah. And then, with that out of the way, it kind of goes into the same conversation with my quote, because I have down the quote where Obi-Wan was talking about before the dark times, before the Empire. Because place yourself in 1977 when Star Wars had first come out, without any knowledge of the prequels and everything that Star Wars is today. This quote was actually the first look at what the past before the Empire was, because just like Luke had pretty much known everything about what Star Wars was the Empire existing, so did you as the audience. But with that quote of the Clone Wars before the Empire came in, you got some idea of what life was like before the Empire.
And I think another thing that's interesting on that point is I take for granted the fact that we know the backstory of how the Empire came about. We know what happened in the Clone Wars. We know all the characters and the rise of Darth Vader and, you know, how the Empire and Emperor Palpatine came into power. But there was none of that during the original trilogy. And for me, you know, coming into my love for Star Wars after the prequels were already out, I think that gets lost on me a lot of times. And it's something that's really incredible that they made 1, 2, and 3 to fill in the backstory on basically that line exclusively, which is pretty cool.
See you next week.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? I'm Jake James Lugo, and welcome to the channel, where you'll find some of the most fair and honest game reviews out here.
Hello there.
And finally, Star Wars fans, we're sitting down to finally talk about Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, the game. This is one I've wanted to do for quite some time because it's a weird example of when a movie-based game, in the traditional sense, comes out before the movie is released. Yeah, I know it's weird, but do our memories serve us well in saying that this game was good? Because so many people love this game, but was it actually good? To say that everyone was hyped for the release of the final Star Wars prequel movie would be a massive understatement. However, before the release of the movie, we got to play through the story in video game form, which fueled the hype even more. Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith, the game, was released for the PlayStation 2 and the Xbox in May of 2005. There was also portable versions of the game for the Game Boy Advance, Nintendo DS, and mobile phones, but those were very different games. The story is the same, however. For those that don't already know, by now anyway, Revenge of the Sith follows the story of the fall of Anakin Skywalker and the rise of the Galactic Empire. It's the tail end of the Clone Wars, and things reach a climax. The Separatist army is on its last legs, and the Jedi Knights continue their battle for the Republic. Of course, things don't go as smoothly as they'd hope, and everything falls apart as the war comes to an end, only to pave the way for things that come afterwards. The game focuses on the relationship and the conflict between Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi. The perspective constantly switches between the two of them, giving us a look at how things unfold, and eventually bringing together the prequel trilogy with the events of Star Wars Episode 4 A New Hope. So can we safely say that everything works together to create a fun and engaging Star Wars game? Yes, it does, but from a certain point of view.
I don't believe that. And you're sounding like a separatist.
So because this game came out before the official release of the film, there are some wild differences between the story of what happens in the movie and what we actually see that goes on in the game itself. But here's the funny thing, there's some awesome results of this where it actually works out in favor of the game, where we get to see more fights and more other stuff that we just don't get in the movie. Perfect example of this is a fight with Mace Windu between him and Anakin Skywalker, which is not in the movie, but we get a full fight in the game, which is freaking awesome. One other thing I should mention too is that there is some extended scenes that are in the movie itself, but they don't play out in the same way as in the game. We actually get a better fight scene between Obi-Wan Kenobi and General Grievous, which is a little bit much more drawn out, and if anything has some really cool scenes in it that own thing, but the game I felt did it a little bit better. Something else that's also different that we get in the film, but we don't get so much in the game, we don't get to see a lot of what's going on with the Senate, with Chancellor Palpatine, as well as also Padme Amidala. We just get to see more stuff focused between Obi-Wan and Anakin, which is fine. Again, this is a game and we're really just playing as those two characters, but also at the same time, Padme doesn't appear on Mustafar in the game. She's actually not present in the game whatsoever, even though she's in the film. That was possibly due to avoid spoilers and stuff. Again, the game came out before the movie, so there was bound to be differences like that, but it really didn't bother me too much. A lot of the stuff, again, is focused more on Anakin and Obi-Wan and how their relationship breaks down. But enough about the story. Let's get to the good stuff that a lot of people love about Revenge of the Sith. At least a bunch of people say that it's really good. The gameplay. Was the gameplay of this game, this movie-based game, was it really good or did it suck? Honestly, it could go either way depending on where you're coming from a certain point of view. Let me start by saying that it's fun to control a Jedi and swing around a lightsaber in Revenge of the Sith, but not everything is executed as perfectly as Order 66 was in the film, especially in terms of the game's controls and occasional unresponsiveness.
I have a bad feeling about this.
I've got a bad feeling about this.
I have a bad feeling about this.
Oh, I have a bad feeling about this.
Unfortunately, there are moments where your controller inputs get dropped, bugs and glitches can mess things up, and frame rate problems go in and out during gameplay. On the flip side, however, what the game does very well is letting you battle legions of battle droids as both Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi, either alone or with a friend. There's a lot of lightsaber combat, which is cool because of the variety of attacks you can do in battle. Between Obi-Wan and Anakin, there are a few differences in their move list and force powers, but other than that, they essentially control the same.
What?
Now, the game's story mode covers key events from Revenge of the Sith, from the rescue of Chancellor Palpatine to the events on Mustafar. Every level has you fighting groups of enemies and reaching locations to battle larger bosses or engage in duels. Battle droids and other enemies come at you in packs, sometimes spawning infinitely until you cross a certain point within a level. I like how you have free movement around the areas that you fight in, despite the game being mostly linear. Some parts will require you to use the Force to open up new areas or interact with the environment in different ways. I should also mention that the boss fights vary depending on the level. Sometimes you'll fight a big enemy with some allies, and others you'll be in a lightsaber duel against an opponent. If I'm being real, however, most of these fights wind up being mediocre and janky. There's some bad collision issues, which can lead to you getting hurt and force you to redo a stage. Stuff like this is made worse when you're dealing with enemies that have these lame gimmicks which prevent them from taking damage. If you're clever, however, then you could dispatch them pretty quickly, but they definitely get annoying the first time you encounter them. Although I mostly didn't play the game in co-op for this review, in my experience playing this over the years, there's very little differences from when you're playing the game alone.
Take a seat, young Skywalker.
So the one thing that everybody remembers about the Episode 3 game was the lightsaber dueling mode, which is the versus mode of this game. I played so much of this growing up, especially before the movie came out, and many other people did too. However, the big thing with this is that it suffers from the same problems that you get from the single-player story mode. There's just a lot of bugs and glitches that happen in various different stages while you're going through the duel. And the other thing too that really annoys me that I don't think enough people talk about, the AI for the CPU could be super cheap, especially on the harder difficulties. It just gets insane with its reaction time, its ability to parry, as well as also just the level of damage that you get from some attacks. It's just really unbalanced. It's all over the place. I feel like maybe a little bit of testing would have really tweaked that a little bit to make it much more solid, even though I still feel that this mode is still a lot of fun to play through. As an offshoot of that, even though I like the roster of characters that we get from here, which are pretty much all these characters from Episode 3, I do wish that there were some other characters. I wish that maybe there was some Legends nods or Expanded Universe stuff, or even some other Jedi that were in the movie, but we just don't see a lot of them. Like, where's Kurt Fisto? Like, where's, what is it, Shaak Ti? Where's all these other characters that apparently were in Revenge of the Sith, even though some of them were in deleted scenes, but were still there, or at least alive during that time frame? I feel like they could have gone a little bit further with that, maybe offer maybe one or two, maybe three more other characters, but still, I feel like at least we got a decent amount of characters to play with, even though I wanted more personally. So besides all of that, what about the extra content in Revenge of the Sith? Is it any good, or does it yield some awesome rewards from having gone through all this stuff probably multiple times, right? I mean, there's some stuff that's there, and it's cool, but McClunky? Outside of the story and the versus mode, Revenge of the Sith also has a few bonus missions you could play through. But while it's neat to unlock this stuff, completing them really yields almost no rewards. There's some concept art in the gallery, which can also be unlocked by fighting hidden Jedi icons within the story mode. But the bonus missions don't always give you something for completing them the first time. The only major reward comes from the bonus mission with Darth Vader and Obi-Wan on the Death Star from A New Hope. Finishing that bonus mission unlocks Darth Vader and old Obi-Wan Kenobi in the versus mode. You can only get this mission when you complete the main story mode and complete the alternate final battle ending. Yeah, you heard that right. There's an alternate ending to the fight between Anakin and Obi-Wan on Mustafar that you could play through. However, the outcome you get comes off as mediocre. Don't get me wrong, I like that we get this change up to the final battle, but I would have loved to see it taken even further and show how it changes the future of the Star Wars galaxy. As far as other bonus goodies are concerned, it's very shallow. What you see here is all you get.
You were the chosen one! It was said that you would destroy the Sith, not join them!
One other little nitpick that I have about the bonus content in this game is that we don't have a manual way to change to alternate outfits in the versus dueling mode. I just find that to be really weird, and you need to have a second player or a CPU in order to change into the alternate outfit for these characters. It just feels like something that is just shouldn't be that way. I should be able to switch between outfits if I want to. But even besides that, I would have loved if we got alternate outfits for the entire roster. Like, give me more than like 3 or 4 outfits for every single character. Just play around with the different looks of Anakin Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Mace Windu. Heck, now that we have Darth Vader and old Ben Kenobi, what about those as well? It would have been really cool to see stuff like that. At the same time, it just would have been awesome if some of the other characters that we got to play as in the bonus missions, i.e. Yoda, would have been sweet to play with them in the dueling mode. It just feels like a bunch of little things that just could have been adjusted, could have been changed up, and it would have made things so much more better. Again, that's just my own personal opinion. Some of you out there might feel a little bit differently. Let me know in the comments down below. But it's little changes like this that I feel like could add so much to a game's experience and just add so much to the value that you get from playing the game. Granted, again, this is a movie-based game that came out before the film, so it was just like all wild territory all over the place. But just little things like that could have done so much more. Regardless of my fandom for a galaxy far, far away, can I recommend that you check out Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith the game on any platform? I would say yeah, but with a few notes to that. I feel that there's some good elements about this game, but it has a lot of rough aspects that might get annoying for most players. The bugs and glitches are what stick out to me the most, which hasn't really aged all that well. The lightsaber duels are still cool, and were definitely the basis for inspiration for a lot of future Star Wars games that focused on lightsaber combat. But the janky AI and the dropped inputs might turn some people off. If you love older Star Wars games, you'll still have some fun playing this regardless of the issues that I bring up. Anyone else that was hoping that this was the best game during the prequel era is sadly going to be disappointed. And there you go, everyone. Those are my thoughts about Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith, the game on PlayStation 2 anyway, for me personally. But it's also on Xbox, the original Xbox anyway. Yeah, I know a lot of people love this game and they consider it to be a classic. Even though I find it to be very flawed in a lot of different ways, I still played the hell out of this. I'm not even going to front, I'm not even going to lie. I was part of the hype before the release of this movie. I think everybody that was a Star Wars fan was in on this. It was just an exciting time. It was a very weird and different time, especially for Star Wars in general. But we ended up getting games like this, which helped pave the way to other games down the line. I mean, I don't think even without the Revenge of the Sith game, I don't think we would have gotten The Force Unleashed. I don't think we would have gotten some of the other lightsaber-based games or games that had lightsaber combat that were influenced heavily by this game. But of course, like any other game that I review on this channel, that's just my opinion about the Revenge of the Sith game. Let me know your own thoughts about this down below in the comment section. Tell me, are you a big Star Wars fan? Do you love Revenge of the Sith? Do you like Anakin Skywalker or Obi-Wan Kenobi? Which one you like better, by the way? And tell me some of your other favorite Star Wars games, ones that you guys want me to review on this channel at some point, because there's a bunch that I want to get to. Like, the biggest one, personally for me, I think that a lot of people would agree, is Knights of the Old Republic, and I've been thinking about that one for a while, so maybe sometime down the line, especially if it comes out on Switch, I'll be able to get to that. But regardless though, talk to me about everything down below in the comments section. Thank you very much everyone for watching this video. I appreciate your support and all your good vibes as always. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit that bell icon too to support my channel for new videos each week. You could also join my Patreon for early access to brand new videos and other exclusive content. Don't forget to join my Discord server too and be part of the community I have over here. If you're into games, then you'll love interacting with all the great people who are part of it. Thanks again, guys. Peace out and stay epic, everybody.
Welcome to Echo Base TV, guys, where community happens.
Welcome to the Matt Cave for this short video, and before we get going, I just want to give credit to the content creator Alan Tsai, who inspired this video. His links will be down below in the description. R2-D2 is my favorite character in the entire Star Wars saga. He's one of the most heroic characters throughout the story, going back to the prequels, the original trilogy, and even though he wasn't done well in the sequels, he does have his moments. Throughout the original trilogy, there are several times where R2-D2 is told to stay put, or stay with the ship, especially in Empire Strikes Back. Each time though, R2-D2 does not listen. He leaves his post and finds a way to help his friends. This became a common theme with R2-D2, leaving his post, helping others. The last time R2-D2 listened and stayed with the ship was at the end of Revenge of the Sith. Anakin Skywalker tells R2 to stay with the ship on Mustafar, and he listened. Anakin never came back.
Long time ago, in a scroll not far, far away.
Star Wars Theology. Episode 2. The Samurai Way. Japanese culture has two main religions, Shinto and Buddhism. Japanese people had often practiced these two faiths simultaneously. This included the samurai. This made Shinto and Buddhism an essential part of the samurai life. However, Zen Buddhism provided their moral compass, which turned them into spiritual warriors, instead of assassins and mercenaries. Besides the foundation of Shinto and Zen Buddhism, the samurai followed the code of Bushido. Bushido was the way of the warrior that gave the samurai a high code of ethics. The combination of Bushido, Shinto, and Zen Buddhism philosophies allowed the samurai to grow as some of the greatest warriors of all time. As the Force guides the Jedi to achieve perfection in the 7 forms of Jedi combat, Bushido, Shinto, and Zen Buddhism made the samurai mastered many different weapons and strived for moral and spiritual development. Kendo and Iaido are styles of sword fighting the samurai cherished and perfected. Kendo means the way of the sword. George Lucas used the samurai fighting style to create the Jedi style of fighting in Star Wars. Thanks to the samurai, our beloved Jedi stories took life in a galaxy far, far away. Remember, may the Force be with you, always.
For my ally is the Force, and the powerful ally it is. Life creates it, makes it grow. Its energy surrounds us and binds us.
I'm one with the Force is with me.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Indeed, you are powerful, as the Emperor has foreseen.
The Force will be with you, always.
flawless victory.
This is the weapon of a Jedi Knight. Not as clumsy or random as a blaster. An elegant weapon, but a more civilized age. For over 1,000 generations, the Jedi Knights were the guardians of peace and justice in the Old Republic. Before the Dark Knight. Before the Empire.
Is the dark side stronger?
No. But this year more seductive.
But how will I know the good side from the bad?
You will know when you are calm, at peace, passive. A Jedi uses the Force for knowledge and defense. Never attack.
The Sith rely on their passion for their strength. They think inwards, only about themselves.
This weapon is your life.
The Force will be with you. Always.
Subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and share the videos. Don't forget to activate the notification alert bell. That way you don't miss any new videos. May the Force be with you, always.
For my ally is the Force, and a powerful ally it is. Life creates it, makes it grow. Its energy surrounds us and binds us.
In 2004, LucasArts would team up with Pandemic to bring us the next way we would play in the Star Wars galaxy, and they would call it Star Wars Battlefront. There were multiple modes to choose from, with different campaigns spanning throughout different eras throughout the saga. There were also plenty of maps to choose from, but we know which one we're choosing. This time, the battle for Echo Base would take place on the ground, on foot with the soldiers of the rebellion. You start the battle in familiar territory, and you have multiple objectives to accomplish depending on which game mode you choose. One of the most noticeable differences from the prior games in this saga is the size of the battlefront itself. Depending on where you choose to spawn, you can actually be quite a distance away from where the major conflict is happening. Right away, we see the Scout Walkers and the Imperial Walkers making their way towards the shield generator, as your teammates ride in on Tauntauns to join you in battle. Suddenly, you notice a dark figure in the distance. Out of curiosity, you make your way towards him. But it wouldn't be long before you realize you just made a big mistake.
Enemy forces have captured a command
Along with
post.
several soldier types that you could choose from on either side, there was the ability to call in a hero or a villain depending on which side you fought for. In this case, the Empire was able to call in Darth Vader. But unfortunately, the ability to actually control Darth Vader wouldn't come along until Battlefront 2 the following year. One of the best features of Star Wars Battlefront was the ability to jump into pretty much any vehicle you came across. In the case of the Rebellion during the Hoth battle, you could jump in the snowspeeders and try to take down the walkers. Now, in past games, you had the ability to use your cannons or your tow cables. In this case, it became very difficult to take down a walker with the tow cable because you required a co-pilot to be with you to fire that tow cable. And to be quite honest with you, to this day, I don't think I've ever successfully taken down a walker in the first Battlefront game using the tow cable. The primary objective in this game mode is to capture waypoints throughout the battlefield. The first team to either capture all of the waypoints and hold them, or eliminate all opposing soldiers on the other side, is the winner. The flight controls in Battlefront, though similar to those in Rogue Squadron and Shadows of the Empire, did still take a little getting used to. There was some added details like battle damage, so you get fire pouring out of your engines and smoke pouring towards you at the camera view, which did obstruct your view, but you did still have the option to choose cockpit mode and go into that first-person point of view. And as one last added bonus, the ability to ride a Tauntaun is back, and you can take this thing for a ride throughout this huge Battlefront. Alright, I know what you're all thinking at this point. Haven't we already seen this before? Every time out, taking control of the rebellion and inevitably losing this battle no matter what we do? Well, that's where LucasArts and Pandemic gave us a different spin. It was finally time for us as the player to take on control of the Empire. And one of the best parts about being in the Empire was driving their vehicles. Taking control of a Scout Walker felt great, and the shift from defense to almost 100% offense was unbelievable. The classic snowtroopers were there, and they looked great as well. But my favorite Imperial trooper to use was the Dark Trooper, because along with having a little bit more health, a little more armor, he had a jetpack, which made getting across the battlefront a lot easier. The shift from playing as the Rebellion to the Empire practically changed the entire way you played this game. You almost forget about capturing waypoints as you start taking out every rebel soldier you see. And back when the servers were still online for this game, players covered almost every inch of this battlefield. Unfortunately, the servers have been long since offline for the original Star Wars Battlefront. Well, we already rode a Scout Walker. Can we get in an Imperial Walker? Yes, you can. Taking control of an Imperial Walker with all of its firepower on board was a game changer. At this point, you feel unstoppable. The Imperial March kicks in as for the first time, your mission is to destroy the shield generator. Rebel soldiers fly in their snowspeeders as you get closer and closer to your target. Until this game, I had never experienced this battle from this point of view. I was actually taking shots at rebels in their snowspeeders while every chance I had firing my armory at that shield generator. Now, actually destroying the shield generator does not get you an automatic win as the Empire, but it sure does help you take control of that waypoint a lot easier that's located right in front of it. Star Wars Battlefront raised the bar for immersion in Star Wars video games. Players from around the world battled each other from all sides of every battlefront, taking control of the Rebellion, the Empire, the Republic, or even the Separatists. The game was released on the PC, the PlayStation 2, and the Xbox. All versions were capable of going online, and players could take on thousands of other players from around the world. Star Wars Battlefront quickly became one of the most successful Star Wars games ever released by LucasArts. And even at the peak of the game's popularity, players wanted more. We all wondered what would it be like if we could play this game as our favorite heroes and favorite villains from throughout the saga. What if there was a story campaign we can play? Well, it wouldn't be long of a wait at all, because the following year, LucasArts would put out the sequel to Star Wars Battlefront.
Victory is imminent. We've captured a command post.
The first day of combat for the 501st was nothing like I thought it would be. We'd been training for years, bred for the sole purpose of fighting and winning this war. But nothing can prepare you for the reality of combat. The destruction, the chaos. They say the 501st got the best of this war. We also got the worst. And it's only just begun.
On November 1st, prepare yourself for the sequel to the best-selling Star Wars game of all time. Star Wars Battlefront 2, the game that lets you fight all the classic battles any way you want. Now lets you fight on all new Episode 3 planets. Fight as a Jedi, and for the first time ever, fight in space. Even board a Star Destroyer and take the battle inside. Fight on the front lines of the saga's most epic battles. From any side. In any vehicle. With any weapon. Star Wars Battlefront 2 on November 1st. You fight again. Rated G for teen.
Battlefront 2 improved every aspect of the game. Coming off of Battlefront 1, it was a noticeable difference. Character models were greatly improved with a lot more detail, maneuverability, and the sound effects and lighting effects were a vast improvement over the original game. The ability to hop into any vehicle that you come across, no matter which side you play as, has returned in Battlefront 2, and the controls feel way more comfortable no matter which vehicle you chose. Vehicle models received a major upgrade as well. We were finally seeing a level of detail we hadn't seen since Rogue Leader on the GameCube. The overall look and graphic design, which included new particle effects and detailed shadows, really brought this game to life. And I always loved being able to land my snowspeeder in an attempt to go capture a command post. As you play your objectives and eliminate your enemies, you're gaining points as you go. The goal is to gain enough points so that your team can call in a hero for their side. And if you thought moving across the battlefront on a tauntaun or even with a jetpack was fast, check this out. The Jedi and Sith characters have a stamina bar that allows them to sprint at superhuman speeds. And the best part? You get to wield a lightsaber for some epic close quarters combat. Sometimes they move so fast their feet don't even touch the ground. The power behind every swing made you the most formidable player on the battlefront. Charging into a crowded command post with Darth Vader struck fear into your opponents. Back then, seeing Darth Vader tear through a hallway full of rebels was just a dream. We could only imagine what this would have been like on film. Online matches supported up to 64 players, and if you were inside an Imperial Walker and a command post got crowded, it was a shooting gallery. Seeing the battlefield fill up with players from around the world was always so much fun. And with the servers now back online for the original Battlefront 2, a new generation of Star Wars fans get to experience these battles for themselves. Star Wars fans, young and old, still play the original Star Wars Battlefront 2 to this day, experiencing the battles from any side they choose, from within any vehicle they choose, and even get to play as their favorite heroes and villains. With the new console generation on the horizon at that time, in the form of the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360, fans anxiously awaited the release of Star Wars Battlefront 3. While we waited, we did receive some Battlefront releases on portable consoles on the Sony PSP and the Nintendo DS. Little did we know, it would be 10 years before we received a new Star Wars Battlefront on a full console release.
It is unavoidable. We will witness the destruction of the Alliance and the end of this insignificant rebellion.
Soldiers of the Rebel Alliance, this is our most desperate hour. You are our only hope.
Focus your attack on the Walker.
For the rebellion.
Don't get in my way.
Shield up!
That won't happen again. Prevent the walkers from reaching the space.
Your victory will be short-lived.
Now it's my turn.
Join me next time in our epic finale that covers a Battlefront experience 10 years in the making.
May the Force be with us.
Your pathetic rebellion ends here.
Hey there, Echo Base TV, Master Paul here. So I have another original song to share with you guys tonight, and this is a song that I wrote in 2014, based somewhat off an experience that I had with my dad the year before in 2013. So just to set the scene for what's going on here, my dad, at least he would before the pandemic hit, would go to our local county jail with some friends of his from another church, and he would have a Bible study with the inmates every Tuesday night. And twice in 2013, I went with him. The first time to just see what was going on, and the second time I took my guitar and had a little mini worship session with the inmates before Bible study, and it was a really great experience. So fast forward a year later, I'm in the Navy, and I'm on post, and I just happened to be thinking about that night that I took my guitar to sing for the inmates in the Bible study that we had afterward, and this song just sort of came to me. So I wrote it down, and it was a song written from the inmate's point of view, trying to imagine what it must be like to be in jail in this place of despair, and then to have someone come in and tell you the good news of Jesus Christ, possibly for the first time ever in your life. And then, of course, when I would later work as a correctional officer myself and, seeing, without going into too much detail, the lives that the inmates had in there, it just gave this song a whole new powerful meaning to me. So I'm going to sing this song for you now, and it's called The Jail Preacher. Hope you like it. Well, I'm sitting in my cell doing nothing, my heart despairing and no light of hope that I can see. My loved ones never come or call to see just how I'm doing, and I thought that if there was a God, he did not care for me. My cellmate always goes to church on Tuesdays. Come, he says, to the chapel, I really want you to go. So I went, expecting that I'd leave the same way that I came. But my heart was in for revolution, little did I know. The preacher said Jesus loves you, he'll forgive you of your sins. He'll cleanse your soul and guide your life if you just let him in. And for those in his caring arms, great blessings are in store. And the words of the jail preacher gave me hope I was looking for. When the service was finished, I went over to the preacher and asked if we could talk just one-on-one. He took me to the back and said, son, I'm listening. Then tearfully I asked if God could forgive what I had done. The preacher said, son, God loves you, doesn't matter what you've done. We're all God's children, and that's why God sent his only son. And later that night I asked the Lord to come and forgive me. And I thanked him for the jail preacher who took time to talk to me. Without God's salvation, I don't know what I'll do. Thank you, Lord, for the jail preacher who led me straight to you. Yes, thank you, Lord, for the jail preacher who led me straight to you. So that was the jail preacher, and I hope you guys enjoyed that. Make sure, of course, to like and subscribe here on EchoBase TV. And this video is likely going to get re-uploaded on a channel that Timothy of Coffee on Korriban and myself are working on called Nerdy Disciple. So, of course, make sure to like and subscribe there if you're interested. And I will see you guys later. And just remember, the Force is family. Take care.
Hello everyone, Ted the Old Star Wars Nerd here on EBN TV, where community happens. Thanks for joining us again this week, and we are going to continue on with Chapter 5 of Heir to the Empire, written by Timothy Zahn, but these have been animated by Darth Angelus. Go check out his channel. All right, so we got it going on here. Let me just move out of the way, get this pulled up, and let's get to it, okay? In the last chapter, we got to see Thrawn and his Ysalamiri confront Joruus C'baoth inside of Mount Tantus, and so now we're moving on to the next chapter. Here we go. That's pretty cool.
So once again, your smuggler friends refuse to commit themselves.
And Akbar.
It's not a matter of commitment, Admiral. It's a matter that most of them just don't see any real gain in switching from their current activities to straight shipping.
Or else it's a lack of trust.
Because of me, of course. Haven't you tired of retaking this same territory, Councillor Fealea?
I
That's a
merely
Bothan.
seek to clarify the situation in my own mind, Admiral. It's hardly worthwhile sending a valuable man like Captain Solo out if these missions are predoomed to failure.
They're not predoomed to failure. They'll come around.
Meanwhile, we expend a great deal of time and effort with nothing to show for it.
Ah! At Harrison Ford finger.
What the smugglers are waiting for is the same thing as the rest of the galaxy. The formal re-establishment of the principles and law of the Old Republic. That is our first and primary task, Councillors. Captain Solo, we thank you for your report and too for your efforts. This meeting is adjourned.
So, are we out of here?
The sooner the better.
Things get a little rough before they called me in?
No more than usual. Fealea and Akbar had one of their polite dogfights over the fiasco at Obroa Sky and the missing task force. Fealea suggested the job might be too much for Akbar to handle, and then of course...
A word with you, Leia? I forgot to ask you earlier if you talked to Luke about going with you to Bimisari. Did he agree?
Yes. I'm sorry, Han, I didn't get a chance to tell you. The Bims asked for Luke to be there with me for the talks.
They did, huh? They give any reasons?
The Bims are rather hero-orientated, and Luke's part in the Battle of Endor is rather well known.
We'd better get going.
The droids are already on the Falcon. Chewie got them aboard while I was here.
It'll be all right, Han. You, me, and Luke together again. It'll be just like old times.
Oh, if only we could have seen something like that in the sequel trilogy. Han, Luke, and Leia on a mission. Well, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. All right, so I'll stop it there. And that was a short one this week. What, 3 minutes? Yeah, right at 3 minutes. So I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks very much for joining us again here on EBN TV. And like I say, if you'd like to have some of your content shown on EBN TV, all you have to do is become a member of Echo Base Network. Go over to the channel and check it out, all right? Thanks again for joining us, and please come back again next week. Now, back to the show.
And everybody watching Echo Base TV right now, like the show, please follow everybody that's creating content, and sit back and enjoy the show. Have a great day. And here's this. Hey everybody, how you doing today? I always drive by here, try to get a good view of them. I've seen them flying in air shows. They're the snowbirds. Funny story is, at one point in time when I was a wee lad, Dad took me to an air show. Well, we're all off and watching, and I'm on top of his shoulders. All of a sudden, the snowbirds come out of the middle of nowhere. I guess I beat the top of my head, Dad's head. I gave him his bald spot. He says it's his halo burn, but I think it's just repercussions of being beat on top of his head. Thus, I cursed myself. Y'all have a good day. Keep on smiling. Remember, no matter where you go, there's always something to see.
Hello everybody, this is Spock, your host from Friday Night Streams. This is my third video on the EBN TV channel. I am glad to be here. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you space battle scenes in Star Trek Online that I've been involved in, and they are going to feature some of my original beats that I've been working on this past year, which are more of a synthwave genre. So I hope everyone enjoys. Here we go.
Looks like there was a fight here recently.
The Carter is ready to assist you.
Reading a single Ferengi vessel, Marauder class. They've decloaked.
I thought I made myself clear to that woolly-faced Starfleet admiral. Leave enough of their ships for salvage.
Well, there's good news and bad news.
Why are you defending that Ferengi worm? He's not worth dying for.
situation is quite dire. Thank you. We'll make our way to a base to complete.
Clean up this techno-organic trash. Open fire.
Thank you for your timely assistance. Tracking a large force incoming. Preparing defense stations.
How about that?
I'd like to tell you about a case I had involving a lady who was very butter on bacon, shall we say. She came into my office one day and was very distraught. It seems her uncle had gone missing. She said he liked to go on adventures most of the time, but that he had been gone for quite a bit longer than usual. She proceeded to tell me a bit about him. Apparently, he was very brilliant, but odd in a curious sort of way. He loved the airships and everything airborne. She said once he talked about building an airship house, to which I thought was preposterous. That technology wouldn't come out for another 100 years. But I wasn't about to say that to her. She might think I was a loon altogether. She said he always gathered supplies before his trips. She mentioned several different locations, markets, desert islands, and some rather curious places. His niece looked troubled. She said that he had been going to more peculiar places, more and more mundane. That was what was peculiar. He loved the air and everything to do with it. But he had been going to warehouses and underground encounters. I was thinking to myself, could it have started already? I had heard of a group in my time travels, but I could never find out when or how they were initiated. I had a feeling this case was going to get very, very interesting.
Welcome to Echo Base TV, where community happens.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome back to Echo Base Television and my little portion to try and help this be successful and to bring you something for Halloween. What I'm going to do this evening is share with you a bit out of one of my books, the sci-fi stuff, and those of you who have followed along know that every once in a while I throw in some macabre stuff. This is fitting for Halloween. It is taken from a book called Revolution. I hope you enjoy it. It's called Mr. Rickton. Here we go. Part of operating a business, at least a successful one, means taking risks now and then. Sometimes it's changing a tired and true product line or starting a new advertisement scheme. Other times it's thinking outside of normalcy or beyond what is known or accepted. Galvanics was known for being just that type of company. They pushed the limits of what was acceptable on many occasions and were rewarded with lucrative contracts more often than not. Risk-taking businesses and money both draw certain types of people, and Galvanics was full of them. But among the trillions in the Union, a few were sick, diseased, or demented and could hide it, fit in, and mixed with the population. One such person made it into the company and gained some measure of authority. Jeffrey Rickton had been with Galvanics since his recruiting out of college. High IQ, abstract reasoning, and a work ethic was perfect for research and development. He quickly gained successes and brought in significant amounts of cash. People like that were rewarded in the smart companies. He gained power over facilities and funding. But there was more to Mr. Rickton. He was a psychopath. He had figured out a way to siphon small amounts of capital, then turn it into a constant growing cash flow outside of the company's eyes. He used this to fund a private venture which involved going outside of normalcy to the bizarre and even subhuman domains. The universe was big. Many offshoots and small groups of people grew outside the reach of the Union. They had liked being far away and unseen. Some good, some bad. And Mr. Rickton used one such group to supply him with what he needed. Animals for grotesque experiments were used early on. But later, he called on one of those groups to supply him with the old, the sick, and the forgotten. Towards the time just before the war in the Union, he was using stolen or captured people from far outside the government census, even children. Mr. Rickton wanted to merge humans with machines. It was that same old song sung by inspired dementia. Making humans immortal and improving beyond normal limits. Long ago, artificial body parts had become perfected. It was nothing to grow or create new limbs or organs. Even parts of the brain could be artificially repaired. But Mr. Rickton was aiming for nanobot-controlled cell walls made of silica and graphite compounds with microcomputers all around the internal and external surfaces. Bodies filled with such cells could be programmed to do anything. He worked alone in evenings in a private lab, just like all the cliches of black and white movies. Bodies stacked up to be burned. Others half vivisected on walls or in tanks and still alive. Free bots that had been programmed for the work spun about, poking and prodding at all hours. On his walls were eyes of some of his victims still functioning by significant artificial enhancements. At times, even he wondered if it was for mankind or pleasure that he did his work. But he had a breakthrough. It wasn't what he was aiming to achieve, but it was an achievement just the same. He had been experimenting with cells using terahertz communications with other body parts, but switched to scalar tech when the terahertz failed. A small girl who had gone insane from Mr. Rickton's work was the first. When he turned on the cellular communications network within the girl, she phased. She could move outside of normal space instantly. Mr. Rickton, from an adjacent room, saw on surveillance the little girl light up like a magnesium fire. It was then that she appeared and disappeared at different locations around the room. The poor, insane child kept reaching for things to play with and look at. Her mind was so fractured, and the flashing around the room overcame her feeble life support, ending in death. She was free. The tech was astonishing. When Mr. Rickton presented his discovery to his superiors, he used a freebot instead of a human. The superiors went crazy over the prospects of all the new areas of transportation and delivery systems, although the military would benefit most of all. Mr. Rickton was hailed as a genius, given financial rewards and more autonomy. It was a good day for Galvanics. They never did ask questions about where the idea came from. Profit was king. Later in that month, Mr. Rickton tried the experiment again, but on a group of adults who still had their sanity. He succeeded in releasing 6 captives unwillingly. They escaped. Before they left, however, they destroyed all of Mr. Rickton's lab equipment, data, and even Mr. Rickton simply by touch. After leaving the room in a blistered and fractured mess, they flashed back through space to their homes in a far remote solar system. One day they might revisit the Union.
Well, that was awesome. Thank you guys so much for being here tonight and checking this out. What a great, great broadcast tonight. Wow, guys. So you got the poll question. We're at 74% that are yes on having this over at EBN on next week on Monday. I don't know. I just wanted to get you guys' thoughts. It's okay that there's not a whole lot of people here. It's going to happen. And all of your channels are going to grow. And, you know, the main thing is for me, it's just a great time for our community. But, you know, I want your channels to grow just like I want EBN TV to grow. So that is what we are working on, and we are going to get there together. So thank you guys for all of that. I am really looking forward to Thursday with Eric Walker coming in from the Ewoks movies. It's going to be a fabulous adventure, a fabulous live stream show. So I hope that all of you guys will be able to make it for that. Spock, I really enjoyed listening to your music. Something that Spock and I talked about privately was he's I mean, everybody kind of knows that we were doing this, but he's been feeding me a lot of his music, and we are looking at creating a music stream of sorts, and it's going to be Spock's music, and I'm going to do some graphics and things, and if people will watch it and listen to it, it would definitely help us with the watch time, as many of you already know, and many of you are going to find out. Subscribers is not just the only hurdle that you have when you're trying to get monetization. It's also watch time. You have to have 1,000 subscribers, but you also have to have 4,000 hours of total combined watch time. We are at 2,000 hours. So we're going to continue to work on that. And if I do some collaborations with Spock and get those out and people listen to the music and just chill, like it's total chill music, it's really, really good, then I think people will enjoy that, and we'll be getting the watch time, and it'll be awesome. It will be awesome. Hello, Hawk. What's going on, bro? Been missing you. Sent you a message on Diablo 2 the other day. We got to get together soon. Absolutely. My necromancer is now level 50, I think. So I'm ready. Sometime soon. Let's do this. But guys, thank y'all so much for being here. As you can tell, the home studio is getting changed. All kinds of changes are coming, and we are totally improving the show. Thank you so much for all of your kind thoughts and sentiments, and thank you more than anything for supporting the content creators that that submit their videos every week. I try to do a good job in putting those together for you guys and making them enjoyable, but the main work is being done not by me, by them. So thank you guys for all of that and everything. I will be back live streaming on this channel some Diablo 2, especially next week, as I will be out of school for fall break. Now let me hit tonight's tips. Thank you so much. And by the way, thank you for the tips. And you can always send the tips here at the link. It's pinned at the top. Better than Super Chats, because 1, you get a custom alert, and 2, we get 100% of the proceeds and not 60 or 70% or whatever it is now. So let's see. Starting it off with Debbie Young, who said, love Echo Base TV and the community. Thank you, Debbie. I really appreciate that. And Master Paul also tipped $5. He said, this show just gets better and better. And we also had a message from Felix Quiros. Felix and Paul both did a great job on their videos tonight. Felix was in there twice. Paul had a great song. So Felix Quiros says, Echo Base TV is the best YouTube live stream on Monday nights. Subscribe, share, and like the live stream. You are Echo Base Network. Yeah. And then our brother, Mexican Iron Man, also sent in a $5 tip. He said, hail to my brother, Star Wars nerd, Ted the old Star Wars nerd. Hail EBN, I love my toys you sent me. So thank you guys for everything. I'm going to go ahead and hit the exit here, but appreciate you being here, and hopefully we'll be getting out some content this week. I will be looking tomorrow. Maybe something will drop here tomorrow night and over at EBN tomorrow night. So be on the lookout for that. Be on the lookout for the Book of Boba Fett trailer dropping very soon. It is imminent, and we are going to watch that, dissect that, have a trailer reaction mashup, all of that. It's coming, guys. It is coming. Just a few more weeks, and Star Wars is going to be back for the first time since a year ago, December, if you kind of see it that way. So anyways, guys, we love y'all. We will see you guys later. Thank you for being here at Echo Base TV, where community happens, and I will see you over on the main channel this Thursday night with Nick and Eric Walker. You are Echo Base Network. I love you guys, and I will see y'all later.